I'm Dr Sam Ankra, the leader of the Alternative Force for Action group, which is AFA, and also independent presidential candidate. I wouldn't say I'm a politician. I would say I'm a technocrat or an expert who sits back and realize things are not done properly, and I believe it could be done better, and I have the technical know-how, the expertise to do so, and that is why I'm getting involved. So primarily I put myself as an activist. Well, as it sits now, I have been disqualified per the EC's last press conference. However, based on the reasons of which the EC chairperson had her views on, and as a result wouldn't want me to go to the next stage or disqualify me, was very flimsy, and myself and a team of lawyers are having discussions as we speak with the EC to find a common grounds so that Sam Akra will be back again on the ballot paper. It was a state of shock, to be honest with you. I'm a very thorough person. I'm somebody that try to have a strategy to everything that I do, and obviously in applying or in doing the nominations or doing the nomination forms, and made sure that since I haven't done before, I'm new on the block, there was a need to have experienced hands on the table to assist and put the structures in place or the required information in place. So I hired a former independent presidential candidate who had gone through the process successfully, and also a former EC official, high-level official, to support us to put our documents together. We dispatched a team of 16 pickups across the country to go around and pick signatures. So, I mean, as far as we're concerned, we did an excellent work, and we presented to the EC to that effect. So to be disqualified on a very flimsy basis, as we, from what the EC chairperson is saying, we moved voters from certain districts to support other districts. It's quite shocking to us, because again, all these were thoroughly put together, and we can confidently say from our point of view that that wasn't the case. Now, there's a lot of discrepancies and also gaps in the communication from EC as to exactly what happened. If you listen to the EC chairperson's press statement again, she made mention that they gave us, or they gave me, room to do the corrections of the errors, and I failed to do so. That is absolutely not the case. It never happened. When we presented our documents on Friday, I received a letter on Sunday morning, and the letter clearly stated two things. Number one, it says that there were certain additional information that was supposed to add on, which was my logo, and also a copy of a tax return for my vice president, which we did we put in place. And also they did say that we need to produce 4 original copies instead of 1 original copy and photocopies that we did. So we had to take the document back overnight, ensure that we prepare 4 original copies and present. When we went back and presented that, the boxes were ticked. As far as we're concerned, per the request of EC on the additional room to correct was done on spot on. There was no issues. There was no issues mentioned of districts being moved to other districts in the first letter they gave us. So it's quite strange and baffling and mind-rocking to hear that the EC is basing our disqualification on the fact that I was given room to do the corrections and I failed to do so, which is absolutely not the case. And also the issue of a district or some district being used to support others were never mentioned in any communication whatsoever as far as our dealings with the EC was concerned. I don't work within the EC. I can only speak from my point of view. But I will ask you a question. Supposing I was NDC, do you think the EC could have used such a flimsy excuse to disqualify me? No. And you could have imagined what would have happened in this country? So am I a second-class citizen? Don't I pay the same sort of taxes? Don't I contribute towards society? So clearly, these are the kind of questions that everybody's asking, and that's what makes a system not transparent, and also doesn't make it enough for us. So now we feel we're being cheated. We feel that's not the right approach to disqualify a candidate, and we'll go all out as far as we're concerned per the law to prove that and make sure that Sam Akra is back on the ballot. You see, these elections clearly speaks around these things, and if you had heard most of my interviews, I've said it categorically clear that until we have separation of powers and checks and balances in these sort of things, we'll be having these issues. Here we are at the mercy of a system that if the system does not like you, they will take you out of it, and it shouldn't be so. This has to be independently run. It should be, the law has to be applied to the latter irrespective of who is involved. These are the kind of things we do in democracy. Or as it says now, if anybody can just sit in a little cuckooland and make a decision and disqualify a candidate as they wish, what kind of democracy are we building? So Sam Akra and the Alpha movement would fight to the latter to ensure that the right thing is being done, and Ghanaians would get to have the right people on the ballot. We can't just sit in there, because look, rigging elections starts from here. If the ballot can be rigged and certain choices have been made on which favors the system, then what kind of democracy are we talking about? Anybody who criticizes the system, who talks against the ills of the society, who comes against vehemently against the things that are not working, cannot be put on the ballot based on some of these things. And this can continue. This is why we keep saying that the status quo is no more an option in these elections. You and I can testify that what we're going through as a country is not the right thing. Singapore used 30 years to move from a third world to a first world country. We've been over 32 years in our second republic, and look at the state of our country. Look at our infrastructure, our education, our youth. What's the future for them? Is there employment? Our economic conditions. Ghanaians are going through some of the harshest economic conditions in living memory. So the issue is not about somebody wanting to be president. The issue is about breaking the dysfunctional systems and putting up structures and systems that will stand the test of time, build prosperity for all. This is what Sam Akra is fighting. It's not 2020. It's not ending in 2024. It's not ending in 2025. It's a fight we will continue to fight until we're certain that our country has taken the right path. We can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a change. Einstein said it's only an insane person that keeps doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a change. That should not happen. I believe Ghanaians are smart enough for us to revisit on how we do our things, come back, regroup, build consensus, have collaborative efforts, take bold decisions, and help build our country. This is what Sam Ankra and the Alpha movement is promoting for this nation. The situation and jump over that to that level, we would get there, and when we get there, we would cross. But at this point, all I'm saying is we've petitioned the EC. We're taking the appropriate processes to make sure that the mistake they have done is corrected. Failure to do so will take different actions, and that will determine how we mobilize our supporters to do what next towards the 2024 elections. Obviously wouldn't be part of a presentation submission of nomination. Like I said, we had experts who guided us to do so. However, copies of what we presented to the EC had been made available to our lawyers. They've looked through all the paperwork, they've listened to the speeches by the chairperson, they've listened to the statements by the EC, they've looked at the communication back and forth between us and them, and clearly they've realized that we shouldn't be put at this position, and under no circumstances should Sam Ankra be disqualified in this contest. I'm not a lawyer, and I relied on lawyers, and every lawyer that I've spoken to says it's totally out of order. I mean, they can't do what they're doing. We haven't been treated fairly. I haven't been treated fairly, and that we should fight in court and get our rights instated. So not to get into any legalities or come and speak in here as a connoisseur of all wisdom and as far as law is concerned, clearly from this point of view we've been cheated for as far as we're concerned, and we feel that the system has to correct itself and the right thing has to be done, and Sam Akra should be put back on the ballot paper as soon as possible.